What's going on, y'all? It's your boy Kofi Kingston, a.k.a. 1/3 of the New Day. You're not going to say it with me, sir? Yeah, come on, you better participate. Let's try it again. 1/3 of the New Day, and you are watching The Young and the Wrestlers. Ha 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 ha.
Welcome to The Young and the Wrestlers, the Pop Culture's WWE podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Ryan Betson, alongside...
TYTW stands for The Young and the Wrestlers.
I thought you were just going to be like, you know, TWTY, you know what that stands for? Jem. No.
I was going to say Walk with Elias, but...
But this is our SmackDown review. This comes at you every Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. on your podcast services, 9 a.m. on those YouTubes. If you want to join that wrestling conversation, head to facebook.com/groups/thepopculturist, Twitter, Discord. All those links are in the down below area. And what we would like you to do would be really rad if you could share that wrestling conversation. So when you're on your podcast service of choice, when you're on the YouTubes, you know, giving 5-star ratings and all that sort of stuff. Be sure to tell your friends, if you have anyone in your life that is a wrestling fan that would benefit from two people bullshitting about the fun story nature that is the WWE. Send them that way. If you want to support us in some additional fashions, maybe some dollary dues, head over to patreon.com/thepopculturist. Any tier, it's up to you. Or you want to do merchandise, head over to popculturist.com/shop and buy shirts, other assorted shit with our logos on it. And I've got to mention, because I keep fucking up with the order, you can join the conversation as it happens. If you head over to twitch.tv/thepopculturist, you can watch and join the show live as we chat. Like Dash does, he says wrestling in the chat.
Hi, Dash.
How are you, Jem?
I'm good. As you can tell, I have a different background behind me. Lighting's a little bit better. Sound's a little bit echoey. I've moved into my new home.
Yeah, there's birds going bonkers.
Yeah, sorry about that. They're very chatty, those guys.
Yeah.
But Porky, Sky, and Cash back there. So they're just joining the wrestling conversation.
That's right. They're getting very involved in that conversation. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so apologies to everyone that we didn't get our Raw episode out last week. Couple of reasons. A, Jem moving house was one. Two, I had a big old audit thingy at work that really took my attention, and I wasn't able to donate what we needed for the show. Well, it'll be energy and or enthusiasm. But yeah, Jem just been straight up busy. But anyway, thank you for you know understanding, I suppose. All like 6 of you that listen
Apparently
to the show.
it was shit anyway.
Yeah, all 6 of you that listen to the show, you didn't miss out on a whole lot. But that was last week, Jem. We're back. My audit's done. You're in your new house. It is time to talk wrestling once again, and we are talking SmackDown.
Yeah.
I was enthusiasm on that for unnecessarily. Let's kick it off the exact same way the show did, and that was with an 8-man tag match. The Usos and the New Day teamed up against the Miz and Morrison and Rudolph.
They did.
Yeah. So what do you think? Yeah. So give us a bit of a rundown what went down, Jem.
So, first of all, the Usos come out. They have a chat about the fact that they weren't there last week and Miz and Morrison couldn't get their names out of their mouth. And then they announced their tag team partners will be the New Day who come out. And we get an inkling here of like a little hint of like maybe there's another feud coming. Because the Usos turn to the New Day and they're like, thank you for keeping the belts warm for us. And then the New Day are like, you got to remember, like, you're 6-time champions. We're 7-time champions. So that makes us better than you. And, like, they get all up in each other's faces, and then Miz and Morrison come out.
Before we jump into that, though, let's have a quick chat about this Uso and New Day thing. Now, if you go back, if anyone was to go back to our older show, sort of around, X amount before the Usos ran off for a little while, there was discussions that you and I had around, like, are we at a point where we should be sick of seeing Usos and the New Day? Mm-hmm. Where do you stand at it today?
I think because we're seeing a different side of the New Day at the moment, it's seeming a bit more like they're a bit more vicious and a bit more nasty and a bit more hungry. I think it's it's a feud that could be reignited. It's been, approximately 6 months since we've seen it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been a while. There's been that break, and I'd be happy to come back to it.
I'm in the same boat. I'm actually surprisingly super keen to see Usos versus New Day. They did some ripper matches last year, so I'm super keen. And I do like the idea of them fighting for this top amount of champions. I think that is a good place to go about it because the Usos are unquestionably one of the best tag teams in WWE. So it makes sense for them to be on that race. So because that does sort of add into what could happen at Super Showdown this week with the New Day versus Miz and Morrison. Like if they happen to lose the belts, then where does this feud go? Does that mean that the Usos will then continue with Miz and Morrison? Do you think this may be some telegraphing of what may come, or is it just the Usos getting their bets in now before the outcome?
I definitely think it's foretelling because it's, I don't know, like there's just no investment with the Miz and Morrison. Nobody seems to care, but tag teams care about people care about the Usos and the New Day.
Yeah, so that makes sense because even though it is cool to have Morrison back and whatnot, there isn't a lot of love for them right now, and I think part of that comes from I guess because they're coming back and they're being bad guys, they're being heels, and they're working against that crowd, and I think that's part of it. Like that's the issue is that no one fucking cares, and if anything, it would work within their best interest to lose the match, sort of to perpetuate the discussion that they're having around the crowd being shit. Yeah. Speaking of shit, though, out come Miz Morrison and Rudolph.
Yep, Rudolph.
Fucking Dolph Ziggler, you piece of shit.
We'll get to him.
We'll get to him.
We will get to him. But yeah, good match. Obviously, like the Usos and the New Day always put on a really good show. Does end with the Usos getting the win for them and the New Day.
Yeah, so who took the pin?
Rude took the pin.
Yeah, that makes sense. Out of everyone there, like although Rude has had some wins, sort of been responsible for some wins as the team of Rudolph, Dolph Ziggler is the superior thing. So it makes total sense that they would then focus their energies on Robert Roode because he's just the one that can take down the fastest. It's a smart decision.
Yeah.
Do you think
definitely.
this? Well, adding to what we just said, because I guess it kind of with Super Showdown, does this loss going to affect them in any way? Do you think this may give them the momentum to push harder? Do you think this may put some doubt in Miz and Morrison?
I definitely think. Well, it's tricky because it wasn't the New Day that took the win, so it's hard to say which way it's going to go. Took the pin, sorry. So it's hard to say which way it's going to go at Super Showdown. I definitely think we'll see the New Day walking out with the titles. I don't think Miz and Morrison are ready for that yet.
Yes.
And yeah, I honestly believe that we are in a position now where Rudolph is going to dissipate. I don't think they've got anything for them, and I don't think we're going to see much of them anymore.
Champion Gamer says, Khan the Yun, Y-U-N? No idea. He's your friend. He's just yelling things in chats. I don't know what's going on.
No idea.
Man, those birds are... Ooh.
Oh, maybe like Ryan. Come the Yun.
Yeah, we'll go
Come
with that.
the Yun.
We'll go with that.
Come the Ryan.
Yeah. But as we mentioned, let's go straight into this. Rudolph, Dolph Ziggler, piece of shit.
Yeah.
He totally did a dirty on Otis last week by getting involved in Young and the Wrestlers is what he was getting at. Young.
And 100%. I get it. 100%. Like I fucking called this. Because Tucker goes up to Mandy and he's like, you broke my boy's heart. I thought you were better than this. Like, you messaged him. She's like, I was waiting for him. And he's like, well, why'd you tell him you were late then? And she's like, I didn't tell him I was late. And he's like, that's a dog move. And, like inviting Ziggler. And she's like, I didn't invite him. I ran into him. And I was like, oh, I called it. And yeah, like Sonia's like, why are you so upset about this? And she's like, I was looking forward to that date with Otis. She's like, didn't you have fun with Dolph? And she's like, I guess. It wasn't very convincing when she said it.
Because there's comments about the idea that Dolph Ziggler is more in the Mandy Rose's type.
Yeah, exactly it. And then later in the night, like, you know, Tucker's like, you know, Otis couldn't even leave the hotel today, like this, that, the other. And Mandy's waiting for a ride and she's like texting, and Dolph Ziggler comes up and is like, hey, what are you doing? And she's like, oh, I'm just waiting for my ride. And he's like, I've got a car, do you want a lift? And she's like, okay. And she goes with him, and then Otis pops out from like behind like stage boxes, and he's watching.
Yeah, look, that made me real uncomfortable. Look, from an outside perspective, I do like this story, as we've discussed many times, of Mandy Rose and Otis. I think it is cool. It was sweet, but this behavior is not sweet.
No.
Like, creepily watching behind boxes is not sweet. And that's going down a very dangerous path for Otis.
Yeah.
As a character and as a person, like, my concern is we're going to go down this weird, stalky, neckbeardy sort of area, and that,
which we've had before.
and I'm not cool
WWE.
with. Champion Gamblers, are there birds in the background somewhere? Yeah, Jem's place.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, we're gonna have to look at that because they are coming through crystal clear.
Sorry.
Next time. Work that out next time. But yes, I am concerned about that as moving forward, because it's not like previously when we seen like the social media posts from Otis about Mandy Rose and about his peach. They were relatively harmless, right? And even though it was still technically creepy, but because it was sweet and his motivations seemed sweet, they weren't as gross. But now the concern is this may go into a gross direction.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts?
I don't know. I'm getting, very like, in a sense, there's like a very like when Undertaker's partner at the time, Sarah, was being stalked by DDP. Like, very, very weird, like, stalkery vibes, and I don't know how I feel about it. I don't know. I'm interested to see where it goes, to see if it's going to lead into just an Otis and Dolph feud, or if it's going to be like, you know, Otis and Heavy Machinery versus Rudolph with like Fire and Desire involved somehow. I don't know. It's interesting to see how it's going to pan out. But yeah, I'm hooked at the same time. Like, I'm just like, oh, what's going to happen next, you know?
Like, shout out to Tucker, though, going there helping his brother out, stepping up.
Yeah, good man.
What a champ. Much appreciated.
Definitely.
Yeah, look, I do wonder where this goes. Do you reckon we'll see a second date, or is it kind of past that at this point?
I don't know. I think it'll take a bit of convincing for Mandy to prove that it wasn't her. But I think maybe, I hope eventually we'll see them get to do round 2.
Someone that we probably won't ever get to see do a round 2, but and that's the Bellas.
Yes.
Due to injuries and whatnot, we probably won't see them again in the ring. However, we did see them again on this week's episode of SmackDown, as they had a moment of bliss with Alexa Bliss, where they discussed them being inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Yep. So Alexa makes it official that the Bella Twins will be inducted into the Hall of Fame this year, which is super exciting. As we know, they have chosen to retire. For those that watch Total Divas, Nikki comes out and she explains that a tumor was found on her brain.
Yeah, that along with some neck injuries as well.
And some neck injuries
not going
and stuff.
well.
Yep. So she unfortunately can't. But they do talk about obviously Nikki getting engaged this year, and then the twins both be like getting pregnant. So Bree's having baby number 2 to her husband Daniel Bryan. Nikki's having her first child, which is super exciting because that's all she ever wanted. So yeah, it was super cute to see them. They talk about, you know, obviously the women's evolution and how, you know, for 13 years they've been pushing for amazing things. And then we've got people like Alexa Bliss, who has the first ever women's talk show. You know, and they talk about how, you know, amazing the evolution is and how it wouldn't be where it is today without the help of the WWE universe. It was a really beautiful little spot. Yeah, it was super exciting. And I think the cutest part was as they were getting ready to leave the stage, Daniel Bryan came out with his daughter Birdie and, obviously said some beautiful hellos to them before he headed to the ring for a match.
Yeah, so look, do you believe that the Bellas are very deserving of being in the Hall of Fame?
Oh, 100%. Like, the women's evolution wouldn't have started without the Bellas. They really brought the women's evolution to where it is today. Like, they started it. So, yeah, it's huge. It's really, really exciting. Like, they've always been breaking boundaries. Like, it's super exciting and it's very, very deserving.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're one of the big people that help put wrestling into a mainstream vision, I guess, or mainstream look, and that comes from the likes of Total Divas and Total Bellas. Because without those things, there is less eyes on the women's division. Period. So I think it's perfectly understanding and reasonable for them to be within that Hall of Fame, and they both had an incredible run within WWE. Pardon me. It is a big shame that they'll never get a go at the women's tag titles, because I think from their history they're probably the most deserving. Champion Gamer, lol, the Bellas are in the Hall of Fame before John Cena. That's because John Cena is still recorded as an active competitor, where neither of the Bellas are due to their health concerns.
They're both retired.
Yeah. So so far we have the Bellas, we have Batista, we have NWO.
Yes.
It's starting to fill out pretty quickly for this Hall of Fame this year.
Yeah, it's exciting.
But as you mentioned, Daniel Bryan did make his way out after the announcement of the Hall of Fame, stopping by his lovely wife Brie, and he's having a match with Heath Slater.
Yeah, Heath Slater.
Why?
So what happened is earlier in the night backstage, Drew Gulak comes up to Daniel Bryan and is like, hey, like there's clearly some holes in your offense and I've made a PowerPoint presentation of all the things you did wrong in your match against The Fiend and I'd like to help you. And Daniel Bryan's like, really? And he's like, yeah, well, I watched a match with Heath Slater last week and Heath is behind Daniel Bryan. And he turns around and goes, what? I heard my name. Daniel Bryan's like, yeah. And he's like, I want a rematch from last week. I wasn't ready. And Daniel Bryan's like, well, are you ready now? And he's like, I'm always ready.
Like, if you're always ready, what the fuck? It
was the dumbest thing, but it was the absolute greatest at the same time. And then Daniel Bryan turns to Gulak and he's like, if you think there's holes in my defense, why don't you help Heath then? And walks away. And at first I didn't get it. And I was like, oh, no, I get it if there's holes in his offense. And yeah, all right. It took me a couple of seconds, but I got there. So that's how that match came about was, basically Heath Slater was like, I wasn't ready. I want a rematch. And Daniel Bryan's like, okay. And they had a match. Drew Gulak was at the announce desk and Michael Cole fucking called him Heath Slater, like straight up. He's like, he's like, Daniel Bryan versus Heath Slater and we're joined here at ringside with Heath Slater. Okay. And like Drew Gulak's like, what, are you asleep, Michael Cole? Like, and Corey's like, it's Drew Gulak. And I was like, oh, shit.
Ex-cruiserweight champion Drew Gulak, no, some rando.
Yeah. Oh, it was so funny. It was a quick little match, very, very quick, considering like the first match took up like 20 minutes of time. Very quick little match. Daniel Bryan does get the win again after Heath Slater completely ignores everything Drew Gulak had told him.
Yeah, so Gulak was ringside, sort of, being like, hey, what are you doing? Like, this is what you're doing it right. And then Slater's like, I'm going up. I'm going to jive. He's like, no, get fucked down. Get fucked down. Douche jumps off. Daniel Bryan gets out of the way, running knee, blows apart Heath Slater's face. Heath Slater lands, legs in the air, 1, 2, 3, takes that pin.
In a very compromising position.
Very much so. There was a lot of you park a bike in there is what I'm saying. It's interesting with Daniel Bryan right now. I don't, as we discussed about like feuds primarily. This certainly is not a long-term place for Daniel, but it is cool to see him have some time with someone in the interim.
100%.
But speaking, because you said this was a nice tidy little match. Speaking of matches that go for a long window of time. We had the match between Carmella and Naomi for the shot at the women's championship match at the Super Showdown this coming Friday for us.
Another good match. I was not expecting the outcome. Obviously, initially Bayley was ringside for the match, like she was last week, and she kept interfering in the match, so she was ultimately kicked out, which was nice to see. And then, Carmella and Naomi just had this absolutely killer match with, I was not expecting this, Naomi taking the win.
You didn't expect it. From our discussions last week, I predicted exactly
I said Carmella was going to do Super Showdown, and then Naomi would be at WrestleMania.
That's right, you did. I think I may have suggested that going to Super Showdown with Naomi, but
now I'm questioning it because there was an interview with Renee Young and Lacey Evans, and Lacey mentioned entering the Elimination Chamber, so maybe Lacey's going for that at WrestleMania.
But that could also set up Lacey versus Naomi. Sort of get Bayley out of that title picture for a little while, because it is one of those, as they keep reminding us, she's one of the longest running SmackDown Women's Champion.
274 days?
Yeah, something like that. People are getting bored. Like, I'm bored with Bayley. I have no desire to see what she'll offer. Sanvi S in the chat goes, "Man, I've been out of WWE for too long. Half these names I don't even recognize." Welcome into the chat, dude. Hopefully we'll can fill you with some new names. And also, I believe there's a follow. Thank you very much for the follow. Get the nice. This is kind of where I thought it was going to go. I expected Naomi to take the win here. I think she had a different fire coming into this compared to Carmella. So being away for as long as she was, it makes sense for Naomi to come in and be ready to fucking rock and roll and to take that win. San VS goes, "Yeah, I saw Jem's tweet on Twitter, so I thought I thought it may be fun to drop in."
Thank you.
So thank you very much, dude. Much appreciated. But yes, there was an interview with Lacey Evans, and Renee asked some actually really quite poignant questions. She talked about the idea of her fighting bullies when there was a window of time that she was in fact a bully.
Yeah, her answers were impeccable. Like, she really had some good responses to that interview, and it's worth watching. Like, it's only a short one. But yeah, she was really on top of it, basically saying, that seeing the example that Sasha and Bayley are setting really opened her eyes to how much of a bully she was being, and, people change.
I did like the backpedal on the nasties. That made me chuckle.
Yep.
Because
term of endearment.
It's like it's like the C word here in Australia. It can be in a term of endearment or it can be a negative. It just depends on how you say it. So I'm like, all right, I don't believe you, but all right, I see where you're going, Lacey. I see where you're going.
Nice try.
Yeah, nice try. But let's discuss one of the probably most enjoyable matches I've seen in a little while, just on novelty alone, and that was the Symphony of Destruction match with Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura with Sami Zayn against Braun Strowman and Elias. In short, the Symphony of Destruction is a no-holds-barred, no disqualification match where there is just a butt-ton of musical instruments surrounding the ring. We're talking pianos, gongs, guitars,
comes out with
drum
a
kits.
fucking cello.
Yeah. Now this is almost a nod to an old feud that Braun had with Elias. He comes out, one time he did come out and it's like, hello everyone, I'm Braun, and he played like, you're gonna get these hands, like while playing a giant cello. So I like that cool little touch for sort of an old storyline there.
No, that was great. Phenomenal match.
I really
this was
enjoyed it.
amazing.
Novelty alone.
Braun, I'm pretty sure both Braun and Elias were bleeding in the back.
Yeah, they both had some back scratches.
Yeah, they're both ripped up. But no, it was absolutely phenomenal. Sammy running around with a freaking ukulele. Like, this was so good. Like, I don't know what I was expecting, but this exceeded it exceptionally. Like, it was so fucking good.
The name alone got me. I'm like, yeah. And then I saw it and I'm like, double yeah.
Yeah, it was ridiculous, but it was so good. Braun Strowman and Elias to take the win, which was super awesome. It was just, it was beautiful. I want to see more matches like that, like cheesy, dumb shit.
Sandy in the chat adds, I'm reading up on Nakamura, 9 staples in his head.
Oh,
was it from this match? Wow, well, because he did take there was a gong. Nakamura got kicked through the gong, and then there was a big a big drop on the piano, like a running power slam, and
the gong sticks as nunchucks was classic.
Yeah, that was brilliant.
Gold.
Classic. It was classic, Jem.
Shut up. I was going to say like classy and classic at the same time.
Yes, you can link articles in the video, Sanvi, in the chat. That's fine. But yeah, so he did take a big, gnarly running power slam from the announce desk onto the piano. That piano did not crumble. It took all that hit. There was a big dent in the middle. But it didn't look good. So let me pull up this now. And yeah, dead set. There's a big picture of him. So Nakamura receives 9 staples in the head after Symphony of Destruction match. And there's a bunch of pictures and all black and white, obviously, because lots of blood. But thankfully, Cesaro and Sami Zayn are by his side in the photos as well. That's just the length these guys are willing to go to take some for our entertainment.
Mm-hmm. Yep, they literally put their bodies on the line.
But yeah, man, gnarly. That's a bit of respect for Shinsuke right there, because I wasn't always a big fan. But will this finally end this Braun Strowman Nakamura feud? Is this the end of it?
I don't think so just yet.
You don't think so?
Like it's going to be milked a little bit more.
Really? Because I'm just going to put it out there. We discussed this last week in kind of in just jest. The idea that the Intercontinental Championship might be in the eyes of one particular man. One very jacked man, one very jacked Irish man, Sheamus.
Yes.
And then in an interview on WWE Bump this week, he expressed his interest in the Intercontinental Championship. So I disagree with you, Jem. I think we're about to move into some Sheamus v Braun time. Speaking of Sheamus, however,
possibly, because Sheamus does put himself in the Elimination Chamber.
That's right. So he announced that he'll be entering the Elimination Chamber match with which we believe that Braun is there from what booking that we've seen. He's also discussed that Shorty G and Apollo Crews gave him a pep talk.
Yeah, so they're like Apollo Crews is watching what Sheamus has to say. Shorty G comes up and is like, it was embarrassing last week for both of us. Let's sort this out. And Apollo Crews is just like, look, you deal with Sheamus how you want to. I'll take care of business my way. Okay. So it sounds like possibly maybe both of them will be entering the Elimination Chamber as well. We will see.
That would be interesting to see. I do hope that, because there is a list booked as per the building, the venue. However, obviously that's all very speculative, as a card is always subject to change. So it's certainly possible. Now, one thing I want to mention before we get into the main event here, it's the main big brunt of the episode heading into Super Showdown. These things keep splashing on the screen throughout the episode. This kind of like blue fuzz, a little ring in the middle, almost like some Ali imagery. Have you been seeing this, or am I having a stroke?
No, I've been seeing it. I swear I saw it last week as well, but I thought it was just a glitch in the video I was watching. Same, but then like Foxtel is shit and unreliable, so I thought maybe it was an issue with the stream. However, now we're seeing clearly defined shapes. What do you think this is? Is it Ali? Like we haven't seen him in a while, but why would he be doing this? Yeah, I have no idea, to be perfectly honest with you.
He is this the techno Jesus looking thing. Like maybe he's getting all up in the systems. I don't know. It's setting up something, and we don't know what. But it's a nice slow setup, which is really good. Unlike the final discussion for the discussion piece for tonight is the Fiend Goldberg Super Showdown match.
Goldberg live on SmackDown with a brand new shirt on the back that says Fiend's next.
Yep. So I don't know how he's going to go, but that shirt may may not last long. But then again, like merch, if anything, is pretty telling of what's going to happen. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah, but he comes out and he's just like, been a while since I've done this, so I'm going to take my sweet, sweet time doing it. He's like, I'm not falling for your games, Bray Wyatt or The Fiend or whoever or whatever you are. And then he's immediately interrupted by the Firefly Funhouse. And, he's like, I know who you are and what you're doing. And Bray Wyatt's like, you don't know me at all. He's like, but we should take some time to get to know each other. And he introduces the Firefly Funhouse. And he's like, and there's also someone else. And the venue goes black. And then it comes back. And without missing a beat, Goldberg's like, it's The Fiend and he's right behind me. And then just turns around and The Fiend's staring at him. I was like, oh, damn. And the Fiend goes to make a move and he just gets a vicious spear from Goldberg. And then just gets up and sort of like gets himself together in the corner. Goldberg's like, come on, let's go. And then the venue goes black again and The Fiend's gone.
Yep. Goldberg is taking that fucking belt.
You reckon?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
Like, he's the only one to really go in with this limited fear. So I think it's very interesting. Yeah,
that's very true.
But look, I don't know whether we'll cover Super Showdown, like maybe as part of SmackDown, as the part of the SmackDown next week. We'll discuss it.
Yeah. Just discuss results.
Yeah, because we probably won't do our own episode about it, just because it's a weird timing with it being on a Friday for us.
Yeah.
It's a tough spot, but I don't know what to think about this. I don't know where to go.
Yeah, neither do I.
Yeah, because I think because if history of anything with the WWE, a shirt is an indicator of where it's going to go.
Mm-hmm.
Because like that Fiend's next, in theory, that shirt will last until Friday.
Yeah. If
he loses.
Yeah, that's true.
So telegraphing, I think, says a little bit different. But we'll have to wait on that one. I don't have a lot more to say about Goldberg versus The Fiend, but I think the outcome of that will be what's different.
Mm-hmm. We'll see.
So to wrap up the show, we have a theory in the chat from our good friend Fluff Mandingus in regards to the Mandy Otis scenario. He has added...
Hi, Dingy Poo.
So Mandy stated that she never sent a message to Otis.
She did.
So who else would have access to her phone but her best friend? Sonia.
Well, I said this last week. Like, you were like, Sonia wouldn't want to get in the way of Mandy's happiness, but I don't think Sonia believes that Mandy would be happy with Otis. So she organised this all with Dolph.
I think it's very likely.
I think it's a Dolph and Sonia thing. Like I said it last week, I think that's what's happened there.
Yeah, and I think that's the probably most plausible scenario. And I think
Sonia just wants her best friend to be happy, is all.
Yes, but it's one of those weird situations of like that's projecting her happiness onto Mandy, because who knows that Mandy may be super happy with Otis. Like it's one of those things as, Mandy hasn't had a partner, like a romantic partner in recent history. And it's the idea of, when they're like, Dolph is more your type.
Yeah, which what triggered it for me.
Yeah, maybe her type is, like, her quote-unquote her type is not what she needs.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? So maybe Otis, before he gets all super creepy and neckbeardy, may have been what she needed. So, if anything, Sonia may have, in fact, hindered Sonia's happiness.
Mandy's happiness,
sorry.
Yeah. No, definitely. But I think that Sonia has the right intentions but the wrong execution. But like I said, we'll see where it goes, because I definitely think that there's a bit of teamwork going on there between Sonia and Ziggler.
I think it's very possible. I'm not ruling it out. But anyways, that brings us to the end of this week's discussion about SmackDown. This wrestling conversation happened on a Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. on your podcast services, 9 a.m. on those YouTubes. If you would want to join that wrestling conversation, head over to facebook.com/group/thepopculturist, Twitter, Discord, Instagram, all those links in the down below areas. If you want to join the conversation as it happens, head over to twitch.tv/thepopculturist on a Monday night where you can watch us record our SmackDown in review live in front of people, just like Fluffman Dingus did, just like Champion Gamer did, just like San VS did. It can also do the same for our Raw in review, which is Wednesday night on the Twitches and Thursday mornings on your podcast services. If you want to, one thing you can do if you do like the show, if you can share the conversation. So while you are on the podcast services, giving it a star rating, a review and whatnot, be sure to share it amongst your family, your friends, anyone that likes wrestling and wants to have a bit of a deep dive conversation around the feuds, around the storylines of the shows. And another thing you can do, support us financially, patreon.com/thepopculturist if you are so inclined. If you want to buy some merchandise, head over to popculturist.com/shop where you can buy shirts and other assorted shit with our logos on it. Big thank you once again, Jem, for joining me this evening to chat about SmackDown. We will be back Wednesday night on your Twitch, Thursdays on your YouTube and your podcast services for Raw. It's going to be very interesting. But until then, I'm Ryan Betson.
And you're Jem. I'm Jem.
We'll see you then. The Young and the Restless, the Pop Culturist WWE podcast, is fan support over at Patreon at patreon.com/thepopculturist. And we'd like to thank our Patreon producers and our Patreon founders for their kindness, their support, and their generosity. Our Patreon founders: Alpha Ferret, Craig O'Flaherty, David Chataway, Jesse Stevenson, and Jacob Garner. And our Patreon producers: AJ Abatomi, Damian Holdies, Kyle Dunn, Lee Wintershoven, Nathan Massetti, Paul James, Pure Mongrel, and Sean Levitt.